Hi everyone, let's continue on the topic on decimals. For the very first question, we are going to continue to revise on ordering decimals by arranging the decimals from the greatest to the smallest. Now when we are ordering or arranging decimals, it's important that we put the decimals into a place value chart. So we need to find out which is the smallest and the largest place value. In this case, the smallest is the thousandths place, and the largest place value is actually the tens place. So we write down tens, ones, decimal point, the tenths place, the hundredths place, and the thousandths place. Then now we are ready to put in our numbers. Decimal point should always be aligned, and then we put in the numbers 40.5 followed by 4.051 followed by 5.014 followed by 5.14. Now for the missing blanks or gaps, we fill them with the number 0. And when we write down the final answer, please do not include the zeros in the answer. Okay, and I think we are ready to begin, bearing in mind that we are looking for the greatest decimal. So let's start by looking at the greatest place value, the tens place. Compare between 4 and 0, which is greater. 4 is greater, so we have easily gotten our greatest decimal, which is 40.5. Cancel. Now we go on to find the next greatest decimal. So same thing, compare the tens place, the greatest place value first. 0, 0, 0. Can you compare? They are all the same, we cannot compare. So we move on to the ones place. Between 4 and 5, which is greater? 5 is greater. So we compare between these two 5s. Okay, because they are the same, we cannot compare. We go on to the next place value, the tenths place. Between 0 and 1, which is greater? 1 is greater. So we have found our next greatest decimal, that is 5.14. So after writing, remember to cancel. Now let's go on to find the next greatest decimal by starting to compare from the greatest place value, the tens place. 0 and 0, can we compare? No, we cannot. So we go on to compare 4 and 5, which is greater. 5 is greater. So with that, we found our next greatest decimal, that is 5.014. So we are done with this, and therefore the smallest decimal will be the remaining one, which is 4.051. And we cancel. This is the answer for part A. Now let's go on and look at part B. For part B, we use the same strategy. We need to find the greatest and the smallest place value and put them into the place value chart. So the greatest place value in this case would be the tens place, and the smallest place value in this case will be the hundredths place. So we label tens, ones, decimal point, followed by tenths, followed by hundredths place. We put in the numbers, making sure that the decimal point is aligned. So we have the first decimal, 26.8, followed by 2.68, followed by 28.6, and lastly 2.86. And we fill the remaining gaps with the digit 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so we are ready to begin, bearing in mind that we are looking out for the greatest number. Okay, so let's begin. We compare by first looking at the greatest place value, the tens place. Between 2 and 0, which is greater? 2 is greater, so we focus on digit 2. We go on to the ones place. Between 6 and 8, which is greater? 8 is greater. So we have found our greatest decimal, that is 28.6. And we cancel. Let's go on to the next greatest decimal. Same thing, we compare starting from the greatest place value, the 10th place. Between 2 and 0, which is greater? 2 is greater. So we have found our next greatest decimal. That will be 26.8. Remember not to include the 0 because there is no 0 in the question. Now let's go on to find the next greatest decimal. We go back to the 10th place again. Between 0 and 0, can we compare? No, because they are the same. So, we go on to the ones place. Between 2 and 2, which is greater? They are the same, we cannot compare. So, we go on to the next place value, the 10th place. Between 6 and 8, which is greater? 8 is greater. So, this is the next greatest decimal, that is 2.86. After writing, we cancel, and therefore the smallest decimal is this decimal here, which is 2.68. After writing, we cancel. So this is the answer for part B. Let's go on to question 2, which is on rounding decimals. Okay, given a decimal, first thing we do is we should always label the place value chart. In front of the decimal point, we have the ones place, followed by the tens place. After the decimal point, we have the tenths place, followed by the hundredths, and finally the thousandths place. So for part A, the question wants us to round the decimal to the nearest whole number. So if you want the nearest whole number for rounding numbers, we follow the rhyme F, L, 4, and 5. Find your number. Look right next door. 4 or less, just ignore. 5 or more, add 1 more. So in this case, we are supposed to find the nearest round to the nearest whole number. So which number should we circle? Whole number is in front of decimal point, directly in front. We circle digit 9. This is the number that we find. Look right next door. 0 is 4 or less, so we just ignore. And therefore 49.038, when rounded off to nearest whole number, will give me an answer of 4 remain the same, 9 because we ignore, it remains the same, whatever behind becomes 0, and for rounding of decimals, we do not need to write the zeros at the back behind the decimal point. So in this answer, it will be 49. Let's go on to part B. They ask us to round the decimal to 1 decimal place. So same thing, we got to find the digit in the 1 decimal place, which is digit 0. Look right next door is digit 3. 3 is 4 or less, so we just ignore. Okay, so my answer will be 49.038 when I round off to 1 decimal place. Whatever number in front of the circle remains the same. Okay, 0 just ignore, it will still remain the same. Whatever behind the circle becomes a 0, but because they want to 1 decimal place, this is to 1 decimal place, we do not write the zeros at the back. So the answer for part B is 49.0. Let's go on to part C. Round the decimal to the nearest hundredth. So same thing, we got to find which digit is in the hundredths place. hundredths place is digit 3. So find your number, look right next door. 8 is 5 or more, so we add 1 more. So my answer should be whatever in front of the circled number remains the same. 3 plus 1 becomes a 4. And whatever behind is becomes a 0. We do not have to write it because it's to the nearest hundredth. And this is the hundredths place. Whatever digit at the back, we do not write. So with that, we are done with rounding decimals. Let's go on to question number 4, which is converting each fraction to a decimal. So if you want to convert the fraction to a decimal, you must ensure your denominator is either a 10 or a 100. So let's take a look at part A. 4/5, you want to convert to a decimal. Denominator is a 5. 5 times what gives 10? 5 times 2. So if you times 2 to the denominator, you should also times 2 to the numerator. 4 times 2 gives 8. 5 times 2 gives 10. So what is the decimal of 8 tenths? We know that in 10 there is 1 0, and because you want to convert to tenths, okay, so the decimal point you move back by 1 decimal place, so your answer should be 0.8. This is the answer for part A. Let's go on to part B. Now 25, do you think it make more sense to convert it to 10 or to 100? To 100. So 25 times what gives 100? 25 times 4. So denominator times 4, numerator also has to times 4. 7 times 4 gives 28. Out of 25 times 4 gives 100. So 28 hundredths, how do you convert it into a decimal? In 100 there are 2 zeros, so you move the decimal point by 2 decimal places. So your answer should be 0.28. This is the answer for part B. Let's go on to the last part, part C. 1/3. How do you convert it into a decimal? Same thing, we need to change the denominator either to a 10 or to 100. So 4 times what will give 10 or 100? 4 times 25 will give 100. So if the denominator you multiply by 25, the numerator you also have to multiply by 25. Okay, so in a fraction, when you change the fraction, whole number stays. 3 times 25, let's work it out. 25 times 3, 5 times 3 is a 15, 2 times 3 is a 6 plus 1, 7. So you have 75 out of 4 times 25 is similar to the previous question. You should be able to get 4 times 25 is 100. So if you want to convert this to a decimal, 1 whole remains the same, so it's 1 point something. 75 hundredths. How many zeros are there in 100? 2 zeros. So you move the decimal point 1 and 2. 2 decimal places forward, so you should get a 0.75. So 1 plus 0.75, you should be able to get 1.75. This is the answer for part C. 1/3 is equals to 1.75. With that, we have come to the end of this worksheet. Thank you.